Grow a Garden might be the next big Roblox game to fall apart. It's the biggest game Roblox has ever had, with over 22 million players at once. But already, the community is calling it out for being way too pay to win. And at the center of all of this is a name that's quickly becoming the most hated in Roblox history. Do Big Studios. These are the people behind Fisch, Blade Ball, A Dusty Trip, and more. Every time, the pattern is the same. The game blows up, each update adds new things you have to pay Robux for, and the community turns against it. Now, the question is simple. Will Grow a Garden be the next victim? In this video, we're uncovering the story of Do Big Studios, how they took over some of Roblox's biggest games, why players say they destroyed them, and whether Grow a Garden might be next. But before we get into it, if you enjoy videos like this, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. I'm working toward 100,000 subscribers, and every click seriously helps. Alright, let's get into it. Do Big Studios isn't your average group of Roblox developers. According to their own website, they don't really make games from scratch the way most developers do. Instead, they go out, find games that are blowing up, and then either buy into them or partner with the original creators. From there, they handle the heavy stuff: development, marketing, analytics, and monetization. But here's something most players don't realize. Do Big Studios is actually tied to a real-world company called Mobile Game Advertising and More Inc., which is based in Florida. It doesn't sound like a Roblox studio at all. It sounds more like a marketing firm. And honestly, that's kind of what they are. They look at Roblox less like a game platform and more like a marketplace, where they can take a hit game, optimize it, and turn it into a long-term business. They've even trademarked their brand and put out a very business-style pitch. Let us take your Roblox hit and scale it to the next level. But scaling comes at a cost, and that's where the controversy begins. Players often feel like once Do Big gets involved, the game stops being just a fun passion project and starts feeling like a product that's built to squeeze money out of them. I think the best place to begin is with Grow a Garden. By the summer, Grow a Garden was pulling numbers nobody had ever seen before. In July 2025, the game hit nearly 22 million concurrent players. That's more than Fortnite's all-time record of 15 million. Outlets like Reuters and PC Gamer even confirmed it as the most played live game in history. But the bigger a game gets, the more hands get involved. The original creator wasn't running things alone for long. Veteran developer Jandel, already known for A Dusty Trip, stepped in to acquire a stake and help scale it. And around that same time, Do Big Studios secured their own minority share in the project. That's right, Do Big didn't buy Grow a Garden outright, but they became one of its financial backers, and almost immediately, players started noticing changes. This was the point where critics began accusing Do Big of pushing the game toward heavier monetization. The best example of that is the Kitsune pet. It's hidden behind a 0.08% chance in the Zen egg, meaning you need to hatch around 1,250 eggs on average just to see it. At 149 Robux per egg, that works out to 186,000 Robux, or about $1,400 USD if you're buying Robux in bulk. And the wild part, the Kitsune's ability isn't even game breaking. It duplicates other players' crops every 20 minutes, but it's barely stronger than the raccoon pet, which is way easier to get. That's why the community feels frustrated. It's not just expensive, it feels like the game is pushing players to gamble huge amounts of Robux for very little reward. And for many fans, it's the clearest sign yet that Grow a Garden is sliding into full pay-to-win territory. Now, let's rewind to an earlier example. Fisch. Fisch was created by a solo developer named WoozyNate, also known as Noah. When it first launched, it was a simple fishing game where you could hang out with friends, grind for better rods, and flex rare catches. It didn't force you into spending Robux. It was just a fun, chill experience. Players loved it, and at its peak, Fisch became the #1 game on all of Roblox, pulling in more than 800,000 concurrent players. But that success came with pressure. Noah didn't have the resources to handle a game of that size, and eventually, Fisch was sold to Do Big Studios. And that's when things began to change. Slowly but surely, Fisch updates started drifting away from fun, casual content and leaning hard into monetization. An egg salesman appeared on the island selling eggs for Robux. Bundles and boosters were added that gave massive advantages. The game went from catching fish for fun to pay money if you want a real shot at rare items, and the numbers reflect the fallout. Fisch dropped from 800,000 peak players down to around 140,000 active players. At the time of recording, it has 20,000 active players. Still big? Sure, but that's hundreds of thousands of people who left, frustrated by the pay to win. The community didn't stay quiet either. Forums, Discord servers, and YouTubers blasted Do Big Studios for turning a beloved game into a cash machine. The criticism wasn't just about the prices, but the grind itself. Some items had drop rates so low that free-to-play players calculated it would take thousands of hours, even years of playtime just to have a chance at them. By mid-2025, the backlash was so bad that Do Big actually stepped back from active development, handing over updates to a new dev team while keeping their ownership stake. The new team rolled back some monetization and promised a return to more casual, fun updates, but by then, the damage was done. Fisch had lost its peak audience and many players felt the magic was gone for good. So we've covered Grow a Garden and Fisch, but those aren't the only titles tied to Do Big Studios. Take Blade Ball for example. It's one of the biggest competitive games on Roblox. Originally originally created by developers Yitty and Chunch Bunch. Even though they're still credited as the main devs, Do Big is often listed in company profiles connected to the game. And that alone has raised eyebrows, because Blade Ball has also seen its fair share of complaints about pay-to-win weapons and premium crates. Then there's A Dusty Trip, another game tied to Jandel, the same developer who helped scale Grow a Garden. While Jandel is clearly the lead, Do Big has a financial stake here too, which makes a lot of players worry that the game could follow the same monetization path as Fisch. And of course, there's Baddies, a roleplay style experience that's been popular for years. It also shows up on community lists of Do Big titles, though the exact ownership percentage is unclear. Some players even point out that Do Big often acquires multiple games in the same genre. For example, not just Fisch, but also its biggest competitor, Go Fishing, which makes them feel more like a corporation cornering markets than a typical Roblox studio. Do Big almost always presents itself as behind the scenes. They rarely announce exactly how much of a game they own or what role they play in development. That makes it hard for players to tell if Do Big is just putting money in or if they're actually the ones deciding how the games are updated. And when you add that mystery on top of all the pay-to-win changes across their games, it's easy to see why people don't trust them. And that's really where the hate for Do Big Studios comes from. It's not just about one game, it's about the pattern players keep noticing. A game gets popular, Do Big steps in, and before long, the updates feel more focused on making people spend Robux than on adding fun content. What makes it worse is how unclear their role usually is. With Grow a Garden, we at least know they only own part of it, but with games like Blade Ball, A Dusty Trip, or Baddies, no one knows how much control they actually have. Are they just putting money in, or are they the ones deciding the updates? Players don't know, and that makes them uneasy. And when you look at how fast a game like Fisch dropped after pay-to-win updates, it's easy to see why people expect the same thing to happen again. Even if a game is doing great right now, the community is already worried about when the money-focused updates will show up. So at this point, the problem isn't only what Do Big has already done, it's what people think they're going to do next. And once a studio gets that kind of reputation, every new move they make is going to be met with suspicion. Here's what makes Do Big Studios so interesting. Even though so many players dislike them, they've also helped Roblox break records. In 2025, Roblox reported some crazy numbers. Daily players shot up to over 111 million, hours played jumped by more than 50%, and the money people spent hit around 1.4 billion in just one quarter. And a lot of that came from viral games like Grow a Garden, which pulled in nearly 22 million people at once and quickly became the top game for spending. Roblox themselves even pointed to Grow a Garden, saying it was proof that the platform can create hits bigger than anything else in gaming. So from a business side, Do Big Studios is doing exactly what they want, taking games that blow up and scaling them even higher. But from the player side, it often feels like the fun part of the game gets replaced with constant reminders to spend Robux. One thing we don't always talk about is why developers even work with Do Big Studios in the first place. Most of the games they pick up start out as solo projects made by teenagers or small teams who never expected their idea to blow up. When a game suddenly has hundreds of thousands of players, it's not just exciting, it's stressful. There are server costs, content updates, bug fixes, moderation, community management, and the pressure to keep people entertained every single day. A lot of creators simply can't keep up. That's where Do Big comes in. They offer money up front, take over the boring business side, and promise to keep the game running. For developers, it's a way to cash out while making sure their game doesn't collapse under its own weight. But for players, that deal often feels like a trade-off. The game survives, but it doesn't feel the same anymore. And that's the tension at the heart of Do Big Studios, keeping games alive, but sometimes at the cost of what made them special in the first place. Another angle to this story is what it means for Roblox itself. In the short term, Do Big Studios looks like a win for the platform. Games like Grow a Garden brought in record-breaking players and spending, which made Roblox's numbers look incredible for investors. But the long-term risk is player trust. If too many of the biggest games start to feel like cash grabs, younger players might burn out faster, and older players might stop supporting them altogether. If that cycle keeps repeating, Roblox could end up with a lot of short-lived viral hits instead of strong communities that stick around for years. It's also worth remembering how Roblox used to be. Back in the day, most of the biggest games weren't built around spending money at all. Take work at a pizza place. You just joined up, picked a role like cashier or cook, and played with friends. Nobody was waving game passes in your face, and the fun came from messing around together. Or look at natural disaster survival, which is still around today. The whole game is just about dodging disasters on a map, and everyone has the exact same chance to survive. No boosts, no rare pets, no spending hundreds of Robux for an edge. Even Murder Mystery 2 and Phantom Forces, which did have some game passes, kept things mostly fair. You didn't feel locked out if you didn't pay. That was the charm of Roblox back then. Games felt more about creativity and community, not about who had the deepest wallet. The real question is what happens next? Will games like Grow a Garden keep growing, or will they end up like Fisch? One thing's for sure, Do Big isn't going anywhere anytime soon. Let me know what you think in the comments. Make sure to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.